It'll be 1 to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy, coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, 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 go.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
In Indianapolis, Tony, you're obviously already adding to a plate that's already pretty loaded. Would you, I mean, at what point is enough? Would you even consider maybe IndyCar Series ownership at some point down the road? Or
first, you're smoking crack today. That's how you lost part of your hair. No, I've been down that road. You know, it's, you know, I guess I've learned in this sport never say never, because 8 years ago I said I'd never be an owner in NASCAR, and here I am today announcing that I am an owner in NASCAR now. You never know. You know, obviously, you look at organizations like Chip Ganassi Racing and Penske Racing, who were involved in multiple series. You know, is it out of the question? No, it's never out of the question. You know, I think as time goes, and you know, you have to, I guess the way we look at it, we've not added 3 racetracks and 4 race teams and then now a Sprint Cup team all in 1 year. This is all something that's grown over time, and you know, as time's gone on, we've evaluated where we're at, and you know, do we have too much on our plate? Do we not have? You know, do we want more on our plate? I think as time goes on, you constantly evaluate that and evaluate where you are and the status of your companies, and that's how you decide whether you've grown as much as you want to grow or whether you want to continue with that growth. And this is something that you know, obviously, if we didn't feel like that we were going to be capable of continuing with this growth, we wouldn't have taken on this project. So, you know, we'll see down the road what we decide to do next. I mean, we might buy a little league baseball team, you know, 8-year-old team or something. We may do that next.
David?
Yes, David Newton, ESPN.com. Tony and Joe, is it fair to say, from what I'm hearing, that you were basically given 50% of the team for your name and your talent to take it to another level? And secondly, how much did GM play in a role in getting back with them?
You know, obviously GM made a huge push when Joe Gibbs Racing made the announcement that they were going to be switching to Toyota. Obviously, you know, the comments that GM made were very strong about wanting to get me back, but you know, the people at Toyota have been great this year. I've really developed some good friendships with the people on that side, but I've had a lot of relationships in the past with General Motors too, and those relationships haven't gone away. So you know, obviously, you know, that was a variable that we had to consider. The ownership side, yes, that was part of the deal, and that's the only part of the deal that we'll talk about. But you know, having that opportunity and being given 50% of an operation to come in and not only drive, but, you know, be a part of it was something that was a huge variable to us. You know, that basically led to our decision and where we are today. So, you know, the good news is when I robbed Monty's piggy bank, I only had to buy Joe dinner, which there was enough to do that. So, sorry, Monty, I'll pay you back here if I can make some money this weekend. But we'll cross that bridge down the road. Taking money to dinner is no easy feat, by the way. I haven't been able to make enough to take you to dinner yet. With this car ownership side, maybe I can make a couple more dollars and I'll be able to supersize your fries. But I'll take you wherever you want, so you get to pick.
Smoke right up here.
No, GM did not give us the money to do this. You got to turn your head around, open your ears up this direction.
Right over in the corner.
Tony, Sam King, Lafayette Journal and Courier. Have you, or are you going to maybe seek advice from other drivers who have tried to be driver owner? And if so, what has anybody told you?
Well, we can't tell all the secrets, but yeah, you know, I've had conversations with Robbie Gordon, who Robbie really is, to the best of my knowledge, the last owner driver in the series right now, and you know, basically at the end of the day, and the moral of the story, he said, "You're going to enjoy this." So this is a challenge I'm looking forward to, and you know, if talking to Robbie, he would have said this is going to be a total disaster and you're going to regret it the rest of your life, I would have thought different about it, but that was far from what he said.
Okay, we have time for one, perhaps two more questions. We'll start here, PRN.
Tony Bradgilly, PRN TMS. Is it Stewart-HAAS Racing from today moving forward, or does that start next year?
It starts, the entity exists right now, but it will race under that banner next year. Haas CNC Racing will continue to operate as it does with the teams that it does until the end of the year.
Reed?
Hi, Tony Reed Spencer with Sporting News. Do you anticipate that the relationship with Hendrick will continue long-term, or is your long-term vision for the team getting to a point where you're building, developing your own equipment and technology?
You know, obviously, you know, when Haas CNC Racing started, you know, having that ability to tap into the Hendrick resources, I feel like has given this team an opportunity to close a huge gap. I mean, you don't get to where a Hendrick operation is overnight, and having the resources available to us and having these resources available long term are very, very key at this point. I see the relationship being a very valuable relationship, not only now but long term also.
We'll take one from Jim Noble, then Jim Utter, then we will have to get Tony to Nationwide Practice.
Jim Noble, Fox Sports Net. Tony, Greg Zipadelli is coming in here in about 15 minutes, I think. Can you just talk about ending the longest driver-crew chief relationship and how much emotion was involved in that for you?
I think that's probably been the single hardest part about this. You know, it's like we've mentioned many times when the topic of Zippy and I come up, it's kind of like a marriage. And, you know, not only is he's been there both professionally and like a big brother on the personal side, and that's something that relationship is very important to me, not only now but down the road. But that has been the single hardest part about this is having to think about that for the last 10 years I've had Greg's leadership and have had the security blanket and the peace of mind of knowing that Zippy's in charge of this and you know, knows me better than 99% of the girlfriends I've ever had in my life, I think. So you know, having to make a change like that is something that, I mean, it's I'm not going to call it a divorce because it's really not like that. I mean, you know, our relationship is still as good as it's ever been. We were laughing yesterday. You know, obviously yesterday was a bittersweet moment for both him and myself to have to sit down in the room with our guys and our team and let them know that this combination that we've had that have won over 30 races and 2 championships was going to finally separate and part ways. But you know, the important thing to me is that not only was Zippy but the entire organization, we were parting on great terms. We won apart as champions at the end of the season, and the friendships that not only with Zippy but the team guys, the rest of the organization, and the entire Gibbs family is something that throughout this has been very, very important to us.
And with 15 minutes remaining for Nationwide Series practice, Jim, you'll have the last question.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. To follow up on Jim's question, any idea who your crew chief will be next year, or are you going to be the first driver, owner, crew chief?
Oh, God. Or if you're trying to put me in the hospital today, that'll do it. You couldn't pay me enough to be a crew chief. I honestly feel like no matter whether you're a car owner or a crew member or a driver or crew chief, I feel like they have the toughest job and the toughest responsibilities from the time during the week, and then obviously the time that they show up at the racetrack to the time they leave. But I don't have an answer for you as far as who we're going to have for a crew chief yet. Obviously, the announcement today will hopefully spark some interest and guys that we don't know are available or might be available or it might have interest or not have interest. Hopefully we'll know more about that in the next couple weeks after this announcement's come out and you know, all the crew chiefs in the garage area and potential crew chiefs in the garage area learn about this operation and what's transpired today.
Ladies and gentlemen, and for those watching on Speed and listening on Sirius Satellite Radio Channel 128, thank you very much for your time. Certainly appreciate it. And again, just a couple of housekeeping items. We'll bring Greg Zipadelli in here in the next couple of minutes, 2:30. Joe and J.D. Gibbs will be available in here Saturday at 3:30, just so we can take care of their media interview requests in one fell swoop. Thank you again. We appreciate your time.
Guys, one more thing. I just want to, again, thank all of you guys in the media that, you know, I know, like I said, this last couple of months I know you guys have had to do your jobs every week and asking, and I know I've been hard on you guys with that, but I do want to thank you guys for your patience and understanding about what we were doing here this weekend. This was a huge decision for us and obviously a life-changing decision, and I appreciate your guys' patience with that.